On a holiday weekend where flights were canceled, buses weren't running, and driving could be treacherous, we decided the train would be the best option. It was, but it certainly wasn't the trip we were hoping for. Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new Trains Are Awesome video. It's Christmas time. I'm at Kalamazoo Station in Michigan, and almost the entire United States this week has been hit by extreme winter weather. And here in West Michigan, that means tons of snow. Today we are traveling back to Chicago, Illinois, and we're taking Amtrak's Wolverine service. Now the Wolverine is a train that runs 3 times a day between Pontiac, Michigan and Chicago, Illinois. I ride it fairly regularly. This is not the first video we've made about it either, but what's cool about this train, other than the snowy scenery, is we're riding what I call the Super Wolverine. Well, at least that's the video I thought I was gonna make. Turns out this was gonna be a completely different video, the not so Super Wolverine. But just so you're not left completely in the dark, a quick explanation on why I was going to call it the Super Wolverine. The Amtrak train between Chicago and Pontiac, Michigan, via Detroit, is known as the Wolverine. It's currently 3 round trips a day. However, not all trains stop at the same stations. In this case, we're headed westbound from Michigan to Chicago. All 3 trains stop at all stations until Jackson. The afternoon 353 and the evening 355 trains skip Albion, but stop at all stops west of Kalamazoo. The morning train, number 351, does stop at Albion, but doesn't stop at any intermediate stations between Kalamazoo and Chicago. Today we are riding the 351, and the next stop after we board here in Kalamazoo will be Chicago. While normally this would mean a fast arrival into the Windy City, that won't be the case for us today. But before the drama begins, let's take a quick look at 2 things: these frozen cookies and Kalamazoo Station. This charming building was built in 1887 by the Michigan Central Railway. Today it houses the waiting room for Amtrak trains, long-distance buses, and the Metro City buses. Our train was running about 45 minutes late, but it's Christmas, no biggie. About 2 minutes before its arrival, we headed out to the tracks. But we weren't the only ones.
This is a train track. Oh. Can someone help with I know. Can someone help?
This woman claimed to have suffered from a cramp while driving. The cramp apparently caused her to turn left and drive onto a railroad track. She was panicking, and for good reason. We could hear the train coming. The first priority was getting her out of the car. We're calling the cops, we're calling Amtrak, we're trying to get a bunch of guys to help get the car off the tracks. While security staff called the police, some of us tried to push the car out of the way, but the snow and rails made that impossible. Well, I tried calling Amtrak and they didn't pick up, said the line was busy, so hopefully somebody else got through. We've tried to push the car, but the only thing that's going to help is shoveling some of the snow away, so some of the security staff is on that. We stepped back. There was no way of knowing if the engineers knew about the obstacle. Thankfully, however, somebody had gotten through to them, and the train stopped just a few feet before the last railroad crossing. The cops showed up first, and in absolute record speed, the tow truck arrived a few minutes later. And that on Christmas Day. I have to acknowledge these heroes. It's Christmas, the temperatures are well below freezing, and these guys showed up. Nothing but respect for them. While the tow truck guys were doing their thing, the Wolverine backed away from the station, slowly going back east. It was going to switch to the other track. The car was out of the way, the lady had been taken inside, I'm guessing for questioning, and our train was all clear to come in and finally take us to Chicago. Now, one unique thing about today's Wolverine was its length. Due to the weather over the past few days, some Amtrak Michigan trains had been canceled. Our 351 had both its original cars as well as the cars for the 353 in its consist, since the 353 was canceled. This gave us a double train, basically a super long train made up of 3 Siemens Charger locomotives, 4 Venture cars, 2 Amfleet Business Cafe cars, and 4 Horizon cars. Finally made it on the Super Wolverine. Unfortunately, we're sitting in the Horizon car section.
Where'd you get those sweats? I saw you buying them. Partials?
Next and final station stop is Chicago's Union Station. Ladies and gentlemen, right now my estimated arrival time into Chicago's Union Station is going to be closer to 11:45 to 12 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. I do apologize again for the delays we've had this morning. Once again, estimated arrival time into Chicago's Union Station is going to be around 11:45 to 12 o'clock in the Central Time Zone.
Lindsay and I were both very relieved to finally be on a train headed towards Chicago. And the Wolverine is a great train. Because it uses the Amtrak Michigan line, we can hit speeds of up to 110 miles per hour. The snowy scenery really made it feel like we were blasting through a winter wonderland. Speaking of blasting through things, it wasn't long before we passed both Dowagiac and Niles Station. But between Niles and New Buffalo, that's where our troubles really began.
Stopped here in the beautiful city of Three Oaks, Michigan. The engineer did say that there was an issue, mechanical issue with one of her engines. Thankfully, we do have 3 engines this morning. She is trying to diagnose so we can get on the roll again. Once again, engineer reports there is a mechanical issue with one of her engines. She is diagnosing the problem right now. I do not have an exact time how long we will be stopped. Again, I apologize for the delays that we are having this morning. I thank you for your patience.
Well, since we're stopped for a little bit, let's check out the snow-covered vestibule. Now, for this back one, I can understand all the accumulation since it's open like that. But on these Horizon cars, all the vestibules were completely caked in snow. And I have to be honest, I don't know how that happens. And this is where we waited and waited and waited. We had packed a few snacks ourselves, but remember, we were expecting to get back to Chicago well before lunch. After 2 hours or so, I took a stroll to the cafe car. This train had 2 cafes, but they were only serving food out of the front one. Now, there was no hot food today, presumably because of the holiday, but Amtrak had water, sodas, and snacks available to everyone for free. I really appreciated this level of service. We were all in a sucky situation, and this little gesture of generosity made a difference. Oh hey, we're on the move again. We made it to the shore of Lake Michigan and coasted through New Buffalo Station. But soon the trouble returned, and a mere inches from the border with Indiana, we came to another grinding halt.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit of an update. Unfortunately, our lead engine once again did fault out. That means it is not functioning. We are coasting right now. We are going to get at least to the next siding. So we have another train that is just directly behind us. That train is going to come around and pull in front of us, and they're going to tow us the rest of the way to Chicago. That train is not having any mechanical issues. All they're going to do is tie on, hook up, and then we should be good to go. I do apologize for the delays that we have had this morning. Once again, we are coasting right now. We're going to get to the next siding, and then we're going to have another train come around us. They're going to tow onto us and take us the rest of the way to Chicago.
Mais je pressens que c'est une ligne vachement. Merci.
Maybe they have more food.
Ladies and gentlemen, on my current estimated arrival time in Chicago's Union Station with all of these delays included is not until about 3:30 Central Time to 4 o'clock Central Time. I know this is much later than you expected to Christmas Day. I do apologize. Once again, my estimated arrival time at this time for Chicago's Union Station is going to be around 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. We're going to try to rely on our own tractive effort in order to get to Chicago's Union Station instead of having 365 tow us along. 365 is going to stick around though with us just in case we do need their assistance anytime down the road. I do apologize for all the delays that we are having this afternoon. I thank you for continued patience. Once again, we are going to try to get to Chicago with our own tractive effort. And 365 will be tagging along if we need help.
The whole relying on your own tractive power thing really has worked out great today. Somehow, our own power was working again. Never did I think I'd be so relieved to be in the state of Indiana. But here, the Hoosiers had another surprise for us.
Trackside wayside detector did not work, so we're going to have to stop and walk the train, make sure no equipment is dragging before we can get back on the move here. So then, again, the conductors will be stepping off the train, we'll be walking the equipment, making sure everything is okay and nothing is dragging due to that wayside detector malfunctioning before we can get back on the move again.
A wayside detector is basically a sensor in the tracks that scans passing trains for any defects.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point we are approximately 5 minutes out from Chicago's Union Station. Once we do get into the station, how this detraining is going to work, if you're in the front half of the train, the newer venture cars, I will be coming car to car. The steps will extend out. I will have to open up all the doors, so as you do exit the train, if you do have a heavy bag, please come down, make sure you're safe and secure on the platform before pulling your bag down behind you. Again, do use extra caution while exiting the train. If you are in the latter half of the cars, the older cars, the Horizon cars, conductor is going to have to be going car to car. Make sure the steps are cleaned off from snow and salted. Again, use extra caution while detraining. Make sure you're fully securely on the platform before you pulling your bags down behind you. Again, we do apologize for all these delays into Chicago this afternoon. We do thank you.
Getting home 5 hours later than we hoped on Christmas definitely took an attitude adjustment. I felt annoyed. I wanted to spend today at home with Lindsay, but I also realized that I did get to have hours of quality time with her. Just not in the place we may have planned, but it was great quality time all the same. And ultimately, it was a humbling reminder that to me personally, Christmas isn't about being home, pajamas, hot chocolate, or even family. It's about the birth of a baby in a stable, conditions certainly worse than what we face today. And I thought about the bad day that some of these people must be having, the driver of the car whose Christmas is certainly wrecked, and the men and women of Amtrak who spent hours in the snow working on a stubborn piece of machinery. None of that changes the fact that I was very thankful to be home, however. Now with my channel name, you may be wondering if I still think trains are awesome. And that's a wholehearted yes. Today was bad and should not be the norm, but I've been on the Wolverine many times, and today was an exception. What's more, if you look at what was going on with all other modes of transportation that weekend, you'll see that this train was ironically probably the smoothest possible option. Thanks for coming along on this crazy journey with us. And I'm talking about this channel, of course. We've reached amazing milestones this year, and I'm grateful for each one of my subscribers. Happy New Year, everybody.